Good morning. Whew. Sunday, just rolled out of bed. Freaking tired, groggy. First taste of coffee in the morning. Love it. So, thought today be a good day to do some baby back ribs. There's 3 of them in here. So we're going to go over how I do it. And let's talk a little bit about spices, binders, and sweeteners. So there's no right or wrong way how to do it. It's basically what you like, what your taste profile is. At the end here I have a couple of items I use as a binder. I'll either use one or the other, either mustard or olive oil, and all that is to bind your powdered spices to your meat. It helps it, let's just think of it as a glue. Now a lot of people said, mustard? Don't even worry about that. That will not add any flavor. It might add a little color profile, but that's about it. As far as spices, it's a lot of where you buy it from. I buy a lot of my spices, and no, I do not have partnership or any kind of business ties with this company. It's called Penske's. You can buy them online, and I'll tell you why I buy a lot of my spices from them. The spices are day and night when compared to grocery store spices. For example, this is black pepper. Black pepper. Trying to angle the bag so you don't get a reflection of the sun behind me, or in front of me, I should say. Day and night when you compare it to the spices, the pepper that's in the grocery store. So mix your proprietary blend. I say proprietary because I don't know what you're going to add to your mixture. A lot of people add a little sugar, a little garlic. By the way, this was fresh garlic. I dehydrated it, and you can see when I dehydrated it, and then I grinded it down to a fine powder. So it might say Kirkland on it, but this is bona fide pure garlic powder. So you might add sugar to it. You might add some chipotle, some white pepper, some black pepper. You might add some of that. How I'm going to do it today is I'm going to skip the proprietary blend. I'm a little lazy right now. In here there's garlic powder, sugar, there's a touch of cinnamon, there is chipotle, white pepper, black pepper, and there is some paprika in here. But today I'm going to go with something very plain, and it's New Orleans. Sometimes some of these store-bought seasonings are not bad. I like this, and I'll tell you why. This adds a little bit of spice, a little bit of heat without going overboard. And I like heat when I utilize a sweet barbecue sauce. I love that sweet and sour, sweet and hot profile. And how I make my barbecue sauce, this is actually my favorite name brand. Not saying it's the best, but for what I like, this is #1 for me. Sweet Baby Ray's. And again, I love the sweet and spicy profile. I'll normally take this and I'll mix it with some honey. This is going to be the mesquite from the mesquite flower trees. The mesquite flowers on the mesquite trees, I should say. And I always tie it in with a high-end salt. Again, this was purchased by Penske's as well. And this is gray salt. It has a different taste, different salt flavor to it. So let's get with, oh, I'm stuttering. I need some more coffee. Okay, we got a special guest here. His name is Hunter. Get your face out of my dinner. All right, let's put him down before he starts to slobber all over it. All right, let's change the angle of the camera here. Now, sometimes I'll use olive oil, and sometimes I'll use mustard. There's no rhyme or reason when I use it, because neither one of them will really put a flavor profile on the meat. just know olive oil is a lot more expensive. So what I'm going to do, use some French's. And you're going to see what I'm going to do to a little bit of that on there. And I'm just going to rub it down. Rub it down. Okay. Again, a lot of times I will use a proprietary blend of seasonings and spices and whatnot. But today, I'm going to go with this one. This really is not bad. Not bad at all. Front and back of your ribs we're not really, nothing special here, not really, not a work of art. Just using it for the spices to stick upon. A little bit more here. Alright, yeah. Alright. There we go. Okay, now for our seasonings. Again, I'm using this. I could use a proprietary blend, which is normally a mixture of red peppers. It's mixed with garlic, chipotle. It's mixed with salt and pepper. And did I mention sugar, brown sugar? But I'm out of it, and I'm too lazy to make any right now. And my dog sees something he can bark at. Hunter, behave yourself. So I'm going to put a nice liberal seasoning on both sides, the bone side. Flip everything over. And I don't know if you could see, you got a lot of bits of garlic in here, pepper, the chili peppers, or I should say the red chili peppers in this mixture. You got a lot of flavor in this Weber's right here. I do not work for Weber's. I rather not even use their name brand, but in my videos. But I just want, if you're interested in trying it, you should be able to know what you're looking for, right? So this is all done. I'm going to see you by the magic of the camera. I'm going to put this in the fridge. I say a minimum of 1 hour. I prefer to put it in overnight. However, I'm just going to go for 1 hour, and we're going to see at the smoker. Okay, so I got apple wood in the hopper. I preheated the smoker. It actually exceeded 180, but you want your smoker to be up to a minimum 180. And we're going to throw the ribs on. So the internal temperature, this meat is technically done at 145. However, it's not going to be very tasty, and it's not going to be tender. We want to get this meat up to between 190 and 203, which breaks down and renders the collagens and fats. And once it reaches that desired temperature, we're actually going to let it sit at that desired temperature for a few more minutes. So let's get it on the smoker. Again, applewood. It's up to 206. Really only needs to be 180. So let's get it rocking. Oh, by the way, this is a good view. You can see all the little seasonings in the meat and whatnot. The pepper, the garlic, the red pepper, everything's in here. So normally on a lot of smokers, your chimney side is going to be your hottest. So I'm going to put all my meat right here because I want this to, I want to take its time. I don't want to rush getting it up to that 190 to 203 range. I want to take its time. If it goes 5 or 6 hours, I would love it. So let's get going here. I am going to do a vertical. might even throw something underneath this one because it's right on top of the firebox. Don't want these seasonings to go to waste. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. Alright. Again, hoping to get this going for about 5 or 6 hours. There's no rush. I might even come back and wrap one of these and do the 3-2-1 method. I'll explain that when I come back. So let's get this grill closed, and I'll see you when it's time to check out your meats. I don't know why I like saying that. Maybe it's a guy joke, but every now and then I like to open up the grill and check out my meat. Okay, so what I do is I'm going to spray down the ribs with some juice. Now, I normally don't drink juice from the grocery store because 99% of the juice on sale there, or for sale there, is just 10% juice. So I figured if I got to buy some juice, I'm going to buy the smallest quantity that I need for the project. But if you like, and you normally drink juice, cranberry juice is awesome, apple juice is awesome. I'm using lemon juice. You can just use plain water. I recommend a juice though. So I'm going to put a little bit in here. And I love lemonade, so I'll probably just chug the rest of it. So every couple of hours, I'll spray the meat down. Change the angle of this a little bit now. I'm gonna have a shaky camera. Okay, so here we go. So we're gonna do a light spray. Nothing. You're not gonna drench it or anything. You're just gonna give it a little moisture. And you're gonna do this about, I don't know, once every hour, once every 2 hours. And that's fine. There's nothing. You don't have to get the fancy sprayer I got. You're just dampening. That's all you're doing. You're just dampening the meat. And I might rotate the meat out, meaning I might take the one that's on the hottest side and flip it here and move everything down is what I'm going to do. So we're in hour 2 right now. Hour 2. I'm going to pick up the camera. Hour 2, you're starting to see separation of the muscles. Right there, you see the separation. We got a little dehydration going on where some of the fat is starting to soften up. Again, we're going to have to wait till it gets to that 190 to 203 before the fat and the and whatnot just starts to melt right out of the meat. Okay, so I wanted to clarify something about the juice I used. You can use any juice you like. Most people are using the apple and cranberry juice. But I just didn't want to buy a larger volume of juice, so what I did is I just bought the smallest juice content that I can find. But again, most people are using cranberry or apple juice. I wouldn't put too much thought into it, and I'll tell you why. When you spray down, you're just using such a slight amount of juice for moisture. It's not imposing any flavor profile onto the meat. However, you do what you want to do. There's nothing too scientific about it. Just whatever you want to do. I want to start with making a barbecue sauce. Barbecue sauce is to taste. You can do it any way you want. It's a big experiment. A lot of times I'll just combine my favorite barbecue sauce with some honey. I'm thinking today I'm going to combine barbecue sauce, honey, and apricot jam into my sauce. But because I'm using apricot jam, I'm going to cut back on the honey. I don't want it to be too sweet. And then I have the option of infusing it with the same seasoning I seasoned the meat. And or I can put some red peppers in it. And I wish I had a blade grinder because then I can chop this up a little bit more. You see the large chunks. But I don't have a blade grinder, so what I'm going to do is I'll probably add just a little bit of this into my barbecue sauce. And because a lot of people, like my family, doesn't like things spicy, I do. I'm just going to use a little bit of this. I probably will just put a dash of this in. I brought this out because you can also put garlic. This is just ideas. You can do whatever you like. So let's get rid of this. I have no plans on using this. So I make quite a bit because I'll baste the meat with it. I will then serve the meat with a side of this. So you can, you know how in the restaurant you can put a little bit more on if you like. Trying to do this in front of the camera here. And I actually have a fancy just put just a little bit in there. Just a little bit to sweeten it up. There we go. And I think we're good enough for that. Put this back away. And I can always taste it and add more if I wish. I love honey. I just licked my fingers. Oh. So this is some decent apricot. It's got reduced sugar in it, so I like it. It has a good flavor to it. Boom, we're done. And one last thing, just to add a little bit of bite. Just a little bit. And again, I'm just going to add just a little bit, because my family doesn't like it hot. Again, you don't need to add this. This is not a rule. This is just to taste. That's how I like things in my house. I like things well seasoned, very well seasoned. There you see. Now I'm going to put this aside. And what that's going to do is going to allow the peppers to kind of infuse into the sauce a little bit better. So I made this about an hour out before I plan on mopping the ribs. So I'll leave this out just in case I want to doctor it up. Actually, I'll give it a little taste real quick. See how she tastes. Wow, lovely. Well, I never thought I'd use the word lovely when it comes to a sauce, but that is good. I guess I've been watching too much Gordon Ramsay. He says that a lot. Oh, okay. See you in about an hour when it's time to baste the meat. Okay, so we're getting close. Now you're not going to be able to see it too well because the refresh rate is going to make it appear as though the screen is blinking, but it's not. It's just an effect of the camera. So what I'm doing is I got my probes now plugged into the meat, temperature probes, and I'm looking at the meat temperature. One says 134, 135, one says 143. I only have 2 probes. I know I have 3 ribs, but so what I'm doing now is I'm taking a look at the watch and seeing how fast, gauging how fast the temperature is rising in those ribs, and that'll give me some kind of clue when the meat will be at 190. This is the temperature. This temperature right here, 190. That's the temperature in the grill, and this is the temperature within the meat. So I'm gauging how fast the temperature is increasing in the meat, and I'm using that gauging. It's going to tell me approximately, it'll give me a feeling, an idea of how long I got, and it's looking like I got a good hour left. But that opinion can change. Going into the meat, I got the probes in. It's not easy to probe ribs because there's so many bones. So not only am I going to utilize the temperature on the gauge, but I'm not going to fully trust it. When the gauge shows right around 190, I'm going to start tugging on the bone a little bit and seeing if the meat starts to fall apart. Once the meat falls apart, That's all I care about. I'm just using the gauge and these temperature probes as a gauge, so to speak. So again, about another 20-30 minutes, I think I'm going to start mopping the meat with the barbecue sauce. Okay, I'm about, I don't know, 40 minutes out from the ribs being pulled. I can tell because the juices are starting to leak through the bark. Bark is that layer of seasoning. I'm seeing a few areas where there's juices starting to leak out. That's telling me that the meat is starting to render, the fats and whatnot are starting to render, melt away, that is. So what I'm going to do is start basting, or the professionals will call it mopping. I don't have a mop. All I have is this. This is what you got. This is what you got. One good thing about that apple juice, cranberry juice, or whatever juice you used. Obviously, I used lemonade. Is the sugars in there will help to adhere the bits to the meat as that juice starts to dry out or caramelize or thicken up due to the dehydration. It'll create a thick. It'll create a syrupy type of texture where it glues down the seasonings and whatnot. So as I brush, it'll help hold those seasonings in place. In addition, I decided not to go with the 3-2-1 method or even try it because I got called away for some chores and whatnot. So I'll do that next time in a separate video. I'll do the 3-2-1. But however, I will leave a description on how to do it right after this segment. Okay, so I'm going to start basting the meat. Now, I was already notified, and you're hearing that hum that you're hearing, that's the fan of the pellet grill, so I apologize about that. But I was just notified that the spice might have been a little too thick. All right, what am I saying? The spice might have been a little too spicy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to baste one of them with just plain honey and see how that goes. Sauce on top of the spicy barbecue sauce. That way it's not so strong for people who don't like spiciness. There we go. I'll put this away. So I'm going to show you this again. What I winded up doing was putting much more apricot in here. So now I'll put a little bit of this sauce on top of this honey. This is just this one. I'm not doing them all this way. This is so the people that don't like spiciness can have a little bit of taste of the barbecue sauce, but it won't be the spice won't be as pronounced. So I'm putting this on. About 40 minutes. You can experiment. There's no right or wrong. But I put it on long enough to where the sauce will actually start to dry out, to thicken up, to create that gumminess that we all like in our sauces. So I'm just piling this on and I'll smear it around. So that's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping this sauce is going to thicken up, and it will, because you know we got honey in there, right? Honey always thickens up as it dries out. We got the sauce itself. So it's going to thicken up. It's going to become gummy. It's just awesome, you know, that I like. Now, believe it or not, I got the camera inside the grill. That's kind of cool. There we go. Actually, I could have cut the film, could have cut the video and just showed you the next segment, but it's kind of relaxing. It's kind of, you see the sauce going on, you know. I'm breathing in that apple wood right now. It's really good. I think the next time I'm going to buy a hickory wood is what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to be doing, and I invite you all to check it out. I'm going to be doing a brisket over next weekend. It'll be a full brisket, and I'll be doing the burnt ends. So I got a full brisket ready to rock and roll for next weekend. It's going to be a 4-day weekend for me due to the holiday. And, okay, so we're finished basting, and we're just going to leave it on until she's up to that 190 to 203 temperature. And I think we're done. Okay, I'll see you in a few. So a little bit of information. Again, I'm just using the temperature as a guide. It's showing it's 165. I wanted it to be 190 or above, but it's a guide. One way to definitely tell if your ribs are done is if they start pulling apart. Now I just picked this up and swapped sides, but when you pick it up, if it doesn't break, it's definitely not done. So if you pick it up and it breaks, you know it's done. So the meat is still a little tough, and like I said, we want it to be right around 190 to 203, between 190 and 203, and that meat should fall apart by then. Okay, so the meat showing 197 on one rack, 195 degrees on another. Again, I'm just using this as an approximate gauge, and I also realized due to the digital camera that I'm filming with and the screen, it might show it flickering, but trust me, it's not flickering, it's just the frame rate on the camera. So I'm going to be pulling it in about, I'd say another 1 minute. Give it another minute or two, and I'll see you in the kitchen. Okay, so we're done. Final temperature reached was 196. I'm gonna go ahead and taste it. A nice smoke ring. So here it is. Spicy apricot and honey ribs. The coating has caramelized. It's kind of like a creme brulee almost, where you have that crunchy sugar and honey. Very good. One more bite. Very tender. Fat melted off just like I thought it would. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me.